Welcome, everyone, and I am so excited to introduce you to one of our judges for the celebrity judge panel for the Lightspeed Survival Gear Contest. And today, you're going to get a chance to meet Robert DeLaurentis. Some of you may know who he is. He's done some amazing epic flights in the last few years. And we're going to get a chance to meet him, learn a little bit more about that. And also, he has some great stories about how to prepare for survival in extreme conditions. And so we're going to learn some things from Robert as well. So I'm going to introduce you now to Robert. He is also called the Peace Pilot, Robert DeLaurentis. He's an aviation circumnavigator, an author, a speaker, a pilot, a real estate entrepreneur, and a philanthropist, and naval Gulf War veteran. He's the founder of Citizen for the World Global Peace Movement to connect humanity through the wonder of flight and the power of courageous action. His books include the best-selling Zen Pilot, Flight of the Passion and the Journey Within, and Flying Through Life, How to Grow Your Business and Relationships Through Added Spirituality. His two newest books, Peace Pilot, To the Ends of the Earth and Beyond, should be coming out later this year, and children's book, The Little Plane That Could. So Robert, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks. It's great to be here, Teresa. And you're right. Survival is always entertaining. All of us that are funny.
And always happy when it works out too, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
awesome. Well, you've done a couple of epic flights, and in 2020 you did the pole-to-pole navigation, which is amazing. So tell us a little bit about your pole-to-pole flight. Some of the challenges that were part of that, but also how you prepared from a survival standpoint, the plane, you mentally, you physically, for the most challenging leg.
You know, Teresa, the plane was really a vehicle for our message, and we were connecting the South Pole to the North Pole and everybody in between. And, but that being said, you know, the plane's got to work perfectly, and there's not a lot of room for errors. And I had about 3 years to prepare the plane. And then our formal preparation phase was about 18 months. It started at 6 and it got extended first to 12 months and then to 18 because we kept discovering these additional risks we needed to mitigate. And, you know, survival is a key part of the trip. And ideally, you're doing everything you can in the planning phases to prevent a major event that, you know, the plane goes down and you're stuck in Antarctica by yourself. That leg was about 4,200 nautical miles and 18.1 hours in the air. And there were so many systems that could potentially fail. You know, we added 6 fuel tanks, 20 valves, and there were so many single points of failure. You know, like if I lost pressurization in the plane, I'd have to descend, and then the plane is less efficient down low, so I wouldn't have enough fuel to make it back. So planning out the survival was really key, you know, in the preparation phase. And it wasn't just what you could plan for, it was the other things that you didn't anticipate. So I spent a lot of nights up going, you know, what if this failed, or what if this failed? And I came to realize that I was the most likely part of that mission to fail. On the plane, it was actually the tires, because it was carrying a lot of fuel and they were under a lot of stress. So, you know, we methodically identified and then mitigated the risks.
Wow, it sounds like, I mean, that's a lot of time, a lot of preparation. I think maybe some people who, get a notion of like, I want to fly around the world or do something, don't always realize, getting into it, how much is actually involved in really, getting the plane ready and getting yourself ready and trying to do everything you can to ensure a safe outcome. And I love your passion also too for that. It was about the flying for sure, and that was a big part of it, but it was also about this bigger mission that you have. And why don't you tell us a little bit about that too, because I know that's really what sort of motivated you to want to try it.
Yeah, let me first say, Teresa, that, you know, it was not a mission of one. We had 95 amazing supporters and sponsors, you know, Lightspeed, of course, being one of them. And I don't think any single person could do a trip like this. So really, you know, a big part of the survival is who's on your team and how can they help you, you know? But yeah, the trip itself, we say that the mission was one planet, one people, one plane, oneness for humanity. And I carried an experiment for NASA, for the Scripps Institute of Oceanography, a plastic particles experiment. And then one that I'm very proud of is the use of biofuels for the first time over the poles. we were, trying to be a living example in the world of what we wanted to see. And I was grabbing my passions, which are aviation and, peace and some spirituality thrown in there as well, and trying to sort of change, my frequency in the world. And when one person changes, and we're all part of the whole, then the whole changes as well. And then you're the example so other people can say, oh, it can be done. We can overcome adversity just like this mission did, and have some positive change in the world, or bring it about.
Right, right. Well, that's well said, well put. Thank you. Yes. So not everyone will do a 18-hour over freezing cold water mission, but all general aviation pilots, need to face the idea that at some point they may have to make an off-airport landing. And so, do you have maybe a tip or two, a couple of pieces of advice for people just to be thinking about, even if they're just maybe flying over the coast range of the west coast of the United States or something?
Sure. We do recurrent training in airplanes. Our aircraft have annual inspections. Mine has a 150-hour inspection, and we constantly prepare and we continue to train. But I think very few people actually take survival classes. And there's some wonderful organizations out there that are doing that. Survival Systems has the dunk tank, where they shut out the lights, strap you in, flip you upside down, submerge you, and then you have to get out when you're under the water. CAPS Aviation in Los Angeles, one of my favorites, a guy named Tim Nealon was on my board, a survival training expert since Vietnam. And there's people out there that make this, their daily job, it's their passion. And connecting with those people on a regular basis, like doing yearly training, I think is really important. And not just for, let's say you're flying over the mountains. Well, there are lakes up in the mountains. Maybe you're going to end up in the water. So your training should include, water training, desert. There's a few, that you need to explore, but definitely that should be part of your training.
Some hands-on, some real experience in it if you can get it. Yeah, yeah. So that you're not experiencing it for the first time when maybe you're under duress yourself, right? So, yeah.
One important thing I like to say is, what's your survival worth to you? And I remember when I first started out flying, we'll use headsets as an example. I had the cheapest headset I could get. That's kind of what I could afford at the time. But when I had the ability to get a better headset, then all of a sudden I could hear really clearly. I wasn't distracted. I wasn't taking time away from my flying to go, what did they say? And I didn't have to repeat back. So spending some money on things that improve your abilities, your eyes, your ears, your health, those are all critical. And the more you can do before the flight to prevent something tragic from happening, the better off you are. You could just skip the event altogether. That's the best survival training right there.
Right, right. Well, great advice. And Robert, if people want to know more about your flights or your foundation, where would they go to learn a little bit more about you?
They could start at www.pole2poleflight.com, and the two is TO. And from there, they can get to the DeLaurentisFoundation.org. And then that's just hours of reading and videos and stuff that will help them with their flying. And, Teresa, one last point is that the more confident you are with your survival skills, being able to survive an incident or an accident in a plane, the better pilot you are, because you're not distracted by the what ifs. You know with confidence that you can fly and you can survive if you go down. So it makes the experience more enjoyable. And that's really what we're here to do.
Absolutely. Yes. I think that's also well put. So thank you. Thank you very much for everything. Cheers.
Thanks, everybody.